I feel like I'm saying this week to week, but Oda has dropped another 10 out of 10 chapter. And it is honestly insane to think that Oda is doing this on a weekly basis because there are some mangas that go on month to month breaks or even 3 month breaks to give us these quality chapters. And Oda is doing this week to week. And you can finally tell that we're in the final saga because the amount of stuff that we have gotten this chapter is honestly insane. Because going from the big bad and only giving them 3 panels in one of these chapters where you are just constantly rolling is honestly insane to me. And those 3 panels held so much weight that that was one of the best parts of the chapter. But we also got very, very interesting parts of the chapter too. So, guys, without further ado, we are well deserved and well due for a discussion on 1182. So let's get straight into that one. So 1182 opens up with Loki, Imu, and Ragnar talking, and it very much seems like there's been a relationship between the three of them, with the previous Nidhogg fruit, of course, having a relationship with Imu because Loki has not transcended time. He has not gone back 800 years. So we have seen this relationship between the three of them, and Imu goes on to call Ragnar, and I believe the Nidhogg previous user, a traitor. So it seems that there has been a bond between these three, and they have gone on to betray them, similar to how he has been calling Joy Boy a traitor. So it very much seems like Imu is becoming a victim in a sense, and it's very interesting to see where Oda takes this. But one of the things I want to note about is how we are finally getting to see these combined attacks between both Loki and Ragnar. And I feel like a lot of people don't talk about this, but they are a package deal. When we talk about Loki, we have to talk about Ragnar because if whether we like it or not, that is part of his arsenal. Ragnar is so important to Loki as his devil fruit is to him. That's how essential Ragnar is to him. So us seeing these combined attacks, I thought was really, really cool, and I feel like Oda hasn't used that enough. So we're finally get to see that, and it's also interesting how Loki's size is not not going to help him in this fight against Imu because Imu is so quick. So I really do feel like we're getting closer and closer to seeing Loki's hybrid form, and it's honestly shocking how we haven't seen it yet. But I do feel like within the coming chapters, this is definitely going to be something that we're going to be seeing. Also, another thing that I want to note between these short glimpses of the Loki and Imu fight, Ragnar is snarking at Imu. So I really do feel like when all is said and done, and whether we make it off this island or not, whatever happens, we're going to get a confrontation between Chopper, the Straw Hats, Loki, and Ragnar. And we're going to get a crazy lore drop from Ragnar with Chopper translating the animal speech to human text. And this is crazy because Ragnar was around in the Void Century. Ragnar is how we're going to find out about the Void Century beyond the Poneglyphs. So this is going to be something very, very interesting because we have seen Robin drop some huge lore bombs reading the Poneglyphs, but obviously the Poneglyphs can only tell us so much, right? So I really do feel like Ragnar is going to bridge that gap for us and give us some insight on how Imu, the previous Nidhogg user, and of course Ragnar interacted, their bond, and also about Joy Boy. I really do feel like Luffy is going to learn more about Joy Boy in this arc, and he is going to have to battle with that fact. And I do really feel like when Luffy finally gets done from meeting his buffet in the school, which, mind you, he's been doing it for a long time in our time, but it's only been like 1 or 2 chapters. But I do feel like Luffy is going to come out and we're going to see a takeover between Nika, Luffy, and Imu. And what I mean by this, I feel like the will of Nika is going to take over Luffy because we have seen a devilish side to Gear 5. And this has been something that we've seen in the Luffy fight, where he speed blitz, not the Luffy fight, the Lucci fight, where he speed blitz Lucci in the eye. We got to see these demonic perception of Gear 5. We also saw this in the Kaido fight when it was first introduced. So I feel like we've seen Imu in his, I guess you could call this his hybrid devil fruit form, as we don't know what his true form looks like because it's still being kept a silhouette, which is also interesting. But I do feel like we're going to get this when we get to see Imu and Luffy finally meet, which I cannot wait for that. Moving on, though, we finally get to see Vegapunk and Bonnie again, and it really does feel like this Lilith side of Vegapunk because, guys, if you don't remember, Vegapunk has these Stellas, and these Stellas are basically different personalities of Vegapunk that he broke up into to just work better with himself and just be more productive. But Lilith is starting to think outside the box of what I believe the Vegapunk Stella would, because when he gave that speech, he would not differentiate right and wrong. He did not want to make that. So we're finally seeing Vegapunk and Lilith think, and we finally get to see him start connecting dots like, who is this? How is Imu above the Holy Knights? Stuff like that. So we're finally get to see Vegapunk connect these dots, and I do think we're going to get more lore from Lilith that Vegapunk just wouldn't make the connections for and just wouldn't drop on us in that speech. So that's very, very interesting to see, and we also could see another Stella come, because as we know, I also think that Lilith is going to get left behind on Elbaf because I believe Elbaf is going to become a Straw Hat territory. but that's that's a whole nother discussion. But I think Lilith is going to get left behind on Elbaf, and we're finally get to see the Stella. And this Stella body, I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but I have to say this on camera. This Stella body will either confirm or debunk the Kid is a Vegapunk theory. Because if you guys don't know, there's been a string of theories going around that Kid is a Vegapunk, what's the word, Stella. And he is the 7th one. As we see on Damned Punk, he has the 7th number on it. And there's been a bunch of Punk attacks that he has used. But getting back on note, I really do feel like we're going to get to see Lilith drop more lore on us as she is becoming more and more relevant to the story as the chapters keep going on. And then another note that I really want to touch on is, are the Holy Knights stronger with Imu's Omen power, or are they just on level with Sanji and Zoro? So this has been a discussion I've seen going around the community a lot recently with the newest chapter dropping 1182. People have been discussing, are the Holy Knights now too powerful with the Omen power? Because people were discussing, and it has been a prevalent complaint among the community that the Holy Knights are too, what's the word? Not weak, but they're a joke. That's the best way to put it. They're a joke to not only the Straw Hats, but to everybody else in the world of One Piece. And the community has not liked this, as Dragon was hyping up the Holy Knights, the God Knights, for that he couldn't raid Mary's Wall with them there. So people were not happy that they were kind of pushovers. So now that we're seeing them with the Omen power, people are now starting to jump to the extreme that they're too powerful. So it's kind of funny to me how we go from they're too weak to now they're too powerful. But my take on that, I do not know, because we have not seen a lot of feats from them. They're kind of all over the place, and we are going to get to the elephant in the room, guys. It's hard to talk about the Holy Knights without discussing that, but we will get there when we get there. And it is crazy to see that Killingham is doing these big feats. He's jumping all over the place. He's making these big dream creations. And is that a credit to the Omen power? I do not know. Is that a credit to his power? I do not know, but I don't think it is fair to make the assumption and make the discussion and debate that they are too powerful right now with the Omen power. As the way that the Holy Knights are being written, I do feel like they are a necessity to the Omen power. I feel like they were written in the sense that they need the Omen power to be strong enough and to basically fight off these stronger foes that we're going to be seeing in the final war and the final arc. So they need the Omen power to basically be relevant in battle. But before we get to the elephant in the room, and it's just so hard to not talk about that, but Biblio. We have seen Biblio, and he has been a master of disguise and just mystery. So for those of you that just don't remember the name, he was the owl in the library with Saul and Robin, and that has been their kind of subplot that's been going on in the midst of all the chaos on Elbaf. And last time we saw Biblio, he was gone along with all the books. And as we know, Biblio can shrink and basically gigify things. He can change the size of things. So what people thought was the Holy Knights either the Holy Knights burned everything, basically a callback to Ohara, just to erase the history, because those are the books from Ohara, as long with Elbaf studies. And people thought that the Holy Knights kidnapped Biblio, but as we come to find out, Biblio took a secret passage and took all the books with him, and we get to finally see Saul and Robin reconnect with Biblio, and there's a little bit of questioning going on between the two of them, and I don't know if I truly trust Biblio yet. Similar to how Ragnar will get some lore drop on us through Chopper, I do feel like we will get a little bit of lore through Biblio, through Chopper. I feel like beyond Chopper potentially being the Force God, he is going to be a significant part of lore being dropped through these animals, because we have a bunch of different animals on Elbaf besides Chopper. And I truly don't know if I trust Biblio, because his character design I get a little snarkiness from Biblio, and he's such a mystery to me, as nobody has really spoke about him in a sense that really leads me into the direction of thinking he's on our side. I definitely don't think he's against us, but I don't think he's with us too, in the sense that he is just on Elbaf. I don't think he has any sides in this war that we are on Elbaf yet, and I don't know where to put him. And it even got to the point where Robin and Saul were questioning him a little bit, and Biblio's design is so funny because he just stares at you. Like, he just gives you this blank expression, and it leads me to think that there's more to Biblio that Oda is letting on, and we're going to potentially see more of Biblio in the coming chapters. And we're going to get, I believe, more Ohara tie-ins with Biblio and, of course, Robin and Saul. And we're approaching the end of the chapter, and we finally get to see Sanji and Zoro get back up. And I was hyped to see my boy Sanji finally get back up. As you guys excuse me, not as you guys. If you guys don't know, I'm a big Sanji supporter. I think Sanji's gonna do a lot of good things in this arc, more than he has already done. And I honestly feel like he's been outperforming Zoro in the terms of the rivalry between those two. But I also think that beyond the Conqueror's Haki is going to unlock, I do feel like he's going to put the Holy Knights in their place. And that's kind of going back to the discussion, are they too powerful with the Omen powers? We're going to see Sanji, I feel like, combat that, unlock black flames. There's a lot coming for Sanji, and I cannot talk about this enough. But on the other side of things, Zoro. We see Zoro kind of playing with the Omen power a little bit. He's kind of in his hand thinking about it. He's like, how did the flames basically go into steel balls? How did they explode? He's trying to wrap his head around the properties of the Omen power. So is Zoro going to use the Omen powers? That was my exact question when I was reading that page. And this would be very interesting because this would, like Sanji getting Black Flames, this would be an upgrade to his arsenal. This would take his swords and give him kind of more. And that also kind of makes me think about, are black blades just blades, not infused with Haki per se, but infused with Omen? I feel like that is a discussion we need to be asking ourselves, because this is a new power that we have not seen. And with Zoro kind of pondering the fact about it, with him finally trying to wrap his head around the physics of this, I really do feel like he will start to use this power, and we could see more of this from Zoro's arsenal. I say all that to ask, how do we think they will do against the Omen-powered Holy Knights? And I think they will perform pretty well. I think Zoro's going to have a nice match against Summers, and I think Summers will die here. I think Zoro's going to go for the heart, as we did see him kind of ponder with that mechanical heart, how that would interact with Haki, what would do if he like slashed that up, what would happen there. And I really do think that he locked in on Summers' reaction to that, because Summers did give a facial reaction that was not good. He did not enjoy that comment. And with now Sanji pulling up to go get Killingham, I do think that will be interesting to see how Sanji will kind of pass into that threshold, pass into the realm of Conqueror's Haki, how he could use Black Flames, because I really do think, like I previously talked about, he will use Black Flames there, and it will be really, really interesting to see how he kind of boosts his arsenal to combat the Omens, because seeing how Sanji kind of performed against Killingham, and then I'm not comparing Killingham to Emu, but I'm saying how he's performed against Killingham versus how he got one tapped by Emu. It's very interesting to see how Omen kind of varies and stuff like that, and it will be a way to display how the Holy Knights kind of perform against the Wings of the Future Pirate King, because Sanji and Zoro are very, very formidable adversaries. So to see how they perform, that will kind of let us gauge where Omen kind of places, because people are having the question, are having the debate in the community right now that I kind of seen going around, that are the Holy Knights too powerful with the Omen powers? So I'm trying to I want a good gauge about where the Holy Knights are and how that will go down. But it's about that time, guys. I know what you've been asking it the whole video. Talk about the elephant in the room. In Zaza. Yeah. That was a crazy big reveal. I wasn't expecting that from Oda, especially where we're at in the current story. I feel like Elbaf is just continuing to peak, going from Herald to Loki's Devil Fruit reveal, back to Rocks, the God Valley, to Emu. It's just reveal after reveal, Ragnar reveal after reveal, and it's getting crazy. Like we are truly in the end game, and it's wild. So I want to talk a little bit about how Zaza is basically how she was like displayed, and how that perception of Zaza, I don't think, is her true form. So kind of going into a little bit about how Killingham powers work. He draws out the worst fear of the person that he is basically drawing that thing out of. He has the Dream Fruit. So what Killingham fears the most is a tale in a myth that the Celestial Dragons tell on Mary's Wall. And basically it goes that they fear and despise the fact that somebody like can live above them. And they fear Zaza because she rains down on the heavens. So the fact that somebody lives above them terrifies them. So for Killingham, Zaza is a horror story. So this is how he is basically perpetrating him in his like perception of him. But this could not necessarily be how Zaza truly is. So that's really where all these different like myths and perceptions are coming into play. Because as we know, Nika has multiple different myths about him, multiple different tales, and it's really cool to see how some giants on Elbaf view him as the god of destruction, and some view him as the warrior of liberation. So it's really cool to see how Oda is tying all these different viewpoints and points of perspective into how characters are viewed and how that affects their image. Because with Killingham, that is the differentiating of his power. Like we saw with the children, he pulled out those dreams from the children and they were basically scribbles. But when he pulls out Zaza, that is a like one to one of the art style. That's real because that is how Oda draws. That's a real thing. So that's how Killingham truly fears Zaza, and that's what he thinks of them. And getting into the character design, woo! Oda cooked on that. I absolutely love how she has 4 arms and she's made of water. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be her true form, just like how we just talked about how Killingham might not know what she truly looks like. But that is a sick ass design, and it was really cool to see how Oda kind of teased it. There was a water arm that came in, and then we got the huge reveal at the end of the chapter, and I absolutely loved it. And guys, I know a lot of people have been pointing out online, and a lot of people have just seen the sound effects. They're the same as Dragon. Could this be a Dragon connection, and could we see a relation between Zaza and Dragon? I don't know. Dragon has been speculated to have the God Fruit ever since she's been introduced in One Piece all the way back in Logtown. So would this be how we kind of even further tie Dragon back into the story and basically boost his stock even more than it's been boosted since God Valley? I don't know. People have also been saying that there could be relations between Vivi and Nami, with Nami, basically how her backstory goes. She was rescued and born, I don't necessarily born, but she was brought out of a hurricane with a smile on her face, and that is the earliest point of origin that we have of her. So people are saying that, and of course she's heavily. She's our navigator, so she deals with weather all the time. She knows weather like the back of her hand. So that's where people are kind of getting into there with the Nami side, but also Vivi, Alabasta, all the ties into the Rain God there. But I don't know who I want to connect it to yet. I think we're going to see something from Chopper with his potential God Fruit. Everybody thinks Chopper's the Force God. I'm kind of right there with him about how he interacted with the Dami Reversi. I definitely do think we're going to see the Forest God fruit that Chopper could potentially have kind of act up a little bit with seeing this perception of Zaza on the battlefield now. But I don't know, because Summers and Killingham talked about Zaza, and kind of to me, I got the I kind of assumed that they talked about him like Zaza was superior to Emu, because that's what I kind of inferred from how they talked about her. So it's really interesting to see how that is going to now play into the Emu and Loki fight, because if Zaza starts rampaging, she could potentially go over to the Emu and Loki fight, and we could potentially see, because I do think Luffy will pull up next chapter in his Gear 5, we could potentially see a Nika, Emu, and Zaza three-way, bro. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be insane. Pause on that. But yeah, that's going to be crazy. But I cannot wait for 1183. By the time this video comes out, we'll probably be on the brink of maybe a drop-in. Maybe we're 2 days out. I cannot wait. The schedules have kind of been a little all over the place, but if Oda's dropping these 10 out of 10 quality chapters, he could take weeks. I don't care. But there's a lot of great things coming out for One Piece. For all my people that watch the anime, 1160 was absolutely excellent. I haven't watched 1161 yet, as it is dropped, and I believe 1162 is coming out this week. And just reading the manga, I can't wait to see that put to screen. I can't wait to see what Toei cooks up. They have been, of course, on the anime side, we've been releasing movie quality level anime episodes week to week with that, and it's absolutely excellent. And I know by the time we get to Zaza in this chapter, it will be maybe 3 years later down the line, but I cannot wait for that. And yeah, I mean, One Piece is just doing great right now, if I'm going to be honest with you. 5th box that got announced from my manga guys. The manga week to week is absolutely excellent. It's breaking records. Elbaf is entering a top 5 arc for me. And that's crazy to say. It's 100% recency bias, and I can say that with my chest, because Elbaf is one of one. Like, it is crazy, and I cannot wait to see what Oda continues to cook up. And on the live action side of things, I believe season 3 has been cooking up. Season 2 just aired recently. And then, of course, Elbaf is getting animated, and Wit Studios has finally gave us a little something about the remake. We've been seeing concept arts here and there, but the remake has been said to drop 7 episodes, 42 minutes long, and we will go up around where we meet Sanji in a batch in February 2027, I believe. So I cannot wait for that. For all my people that want to get into One Piece and just don't know how to tackle the 1100 episode runtime of the anime, you could get into there, and that will be an excellent way to just for us One Piece fans to just basically re-experience One Piece in a new light and to see Wit's take on it. And I cannot wait to get into that, man. And wow, it's just being a One Piece fan is truly the best feeling ever because you are never left hungry, man. And I cannot wait for the future of One Piece. But guys, with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this, and of course I'll be doing 1183 one, but if you guys enjoyed this, please highly consider liking and subscribing, as that would of course mean so much to me, and that would let me know what videos you guys want to see in the future. And guys, of course, thank you guys so much, and I cannot wait to get into 1183, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys about with that one. With that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.